Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Coach Drink, the Missouri Tigers land another commitment in the transfer portal. This one coming from former Miami Hurricane linebacker Corey Flagg, who's played a ton of football during his time in Coral Gables, is going to bring a ton of experience to this Missouri linebacker room that is going to be losing some guys that have been kind of stalwarts in this Missouri defense the last couple of years. Before we get into Corey Flagg, kind of want to take a second and just recognize what's happening with this Missouri program. And you're just seeing a lot of momentum, not only on the football field in 2023, but I think what fires you up the most if you're a Missouri Tiger fan is you're seeing them parlay the success on the field with some really, really nice recruiting, not only in the high school class, but in the transfer portal. Coach Drink signing a very strong class out of the high school ranks and supplementing that with a transfer portal class that is not the biggest transfer portal class that you're going to see, but it's a calculated one that has guys that are coming in to be difference makers and impact players for this Missouri program. If you're a Missouri fan and you kind of have seen the on-field development and the culture that's being built, and then you parlay that with the talent acquisition piece, that's what it takes to have a special program, right? You have to have both of those working together, right? The player development needs to be there. The talent acquisition needs to be there. You're starting to see both come together. Really exciting time for a Missouri Tiger fan. Want to get into Corey Flagg, talk a little bit about some other pieces in the transfer portal. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. It has been just an absolute blast covering all these transfer portal additions. Cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Corey Flagg, who also comes over with his younger brother, Caleb Flagg, who plays in that defensive backfield, coming from the FCS ranks. And focusing in on Corey Flagg, this is a guy that you take a look at what you want to value at the linebacker position. One of the biggest assets you can have is experience. Right at that linebacker position, you have to be able to read, diagnose, know what's going on really quickly. You got to play with those instincts. And the only way you can get instincts is playing football. And Corey Flagg's a guy that has started so many games for the Miami Hurricanes, has played a ton of football the last couple of years for Miami. And I think it's a guy that I think a lot of Miami fans would agree with this as well. Maybe a rough start to his career at Miami, but continue to get better with this program. And I think put largely probably his best game or best season of his career in 2023. So now he's coming over for his fifth-year senior year as a linebacker that has a lot of confidence. And again, you can't really argue with the production. Corey Flagg's a guy that can go sideline to sideline, make a lot of plays, over 170 tackles, 24 and a half tackles for a loss on his career, 5.5 sacks, a guy that can do a lot of different things. But the number that I'm circling that I think I've been most impressed with in Corey Flagg the last couple of years is the missed tackle rate has gone down meaningfully. And again, you talk about evaluating linebackers. What is one of the most important things your job is as a linebacker is to make tackles. If you're missing tackles, that's a problem at the linebacker position. Corey Flagg, 20% missed tackle rate the first 2 years at Miami. In 2023, 9.4%. I mean, that is significantly lower. That's actually a very strong number. So you look at Corey Flagg, I think what you're most excited for is the trajectory of his game. Like, he's a guy that is getting better. And does he have necessarily the all-SEC NFL traits that you're looking for? Not necessarily, right? 5'11", 230. That's not necessarily jumping out from the stat sheet there. But it's a guy that plays with good instincts. He plays downhill. Another thing that I like to look at, run stops, average depth of tackle, 17 run stops in 2023. Very good number. More importantly, what's his average depth of tackle? That meaning, where is he making his tackles on the football field? Is he a guy that's making them 7-8 yards down the field, or is he more close to the line of scrimmage? 3 yards of average depth of tackle, very good number for a linebacker. That tells me he's playing downhill, that he's playing and making his plays around the line of scrimmage. And again, that's where you launch your linebackers making plays. In coverage, again, massive improvement. In 2023, faced 11 targets, only gave up 6 catches, had 3 forced incompletions. This is a guy that plays with good instincts. He goes sideline to sideline. He makes plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. And I mean, you take a look at checking some boxes, and Corey Flagg, from a football player's perspective, is checking a lot of boxes. And a lot of the things that you're going to ask Corey Flagg to do in this defense, I think he can do at a high level but most of all, it's the experience. Like that centerpiece in your defense. Has he played a lot of football? Has he seen a lot of football? Corey Flagg has. Now, the one question I would have with Corey Flagg coming in is how can he rush the passer? Missouri wants to use their linebackers. You think about a guy like Tyron Hopper, how they used him, especially in the 2022 season. They want to send their linebackers on blitzes. Corey Flagg hasn't necessarily shown the ability to be an elite pass rusher like a guy like Tyron Hopper. I'm interested to see if he can kind of bring that element to his game as he gets to Missouri. So we're keeping an eye on that. A guy that's played a lot of football, has done a lot of good things at the linebacker position. I'm interested, if we have any Miami fans listening, would love to hear your guys' take on Corey Flagg, because he's a guy that, in my personal, from watching Miami football the last couple of years, I think that he's gotten a lot better at this sport. And I think you're really excited to see if he can put one more season of kind of that building block season together for the Missouri Tigers. Missouri has had success going to the state of Florida and grabbing some transfer linebackers. Obviously, Tyron Hopper was a phenomenal addition from the Florida Gators. See if Corey Flagg can have very similar kind of impact for this Missouri defense. Now, taking a look at what the Tigers are doing in the transfer portal, you have to be excited, right? It's not, not necessarily the biggest class that you're going to see, right? Colorado taking 15 guys, Ole Miss, I think, is up to 10 or 11. But I think what you're most excited for, and something that we've had this conversation a lot for Missouri, this is a pretty complete roster, right? There's not a lot of holes in this depth chart that you're saying, yeah, that's going to be a massive problem for Missouri heading into 2024. But the aspects of the depth chart that they wanted to supplement and bring in guys, they've done, right? At the cornerback position, you're losing a guy like Chris Abrams-Drain and this Rackesstraw. You go in and bring a guy like Torino Pryden, who is going to be a day one starter for the Missouri Tigers and has that NFL upside. So you kind of add some depth, you add some talent to a thinner position group with guys leaving to the NFL draft. Marcus Carroll, obviously with Garrett Schrader and the phenomenal year he had, you want to bring in some more depth at that running back spot. A guy that has ran for over 1,300 yards at Georgia State last year. Can add the offensive line. A guy like Javon Foster has been a staple in this Missouri offensive line. You want to add some talent, you go out and get the number one offensive tackle that was available in the transfer portal, Caden Green, who I think can play tackle for the Missouri Tigers. Again, he played guard at Oklahoma. Certainly think he can play tackle for Missouri. And then you want to add some depth to that edge rush. You go get a guy from the Georgia Bulldogs, and Darius Smith, although has not played a ton of football for Georgia yet, he's a guy that has the traits. He's been with that Georgia program for the last 2 years. I would bet on a lot of Georgia edge rushers and the development that they've had in that room. And then finally, you bring in a guy in Corey Flagg who, again, losing some linebackers, some experienced linebackers. Go get an experienced linebacker from the Miami Hurricanes. And so you look at this roster and some of the guys that are leaving this program from a really good team in 2023, they are kind of using the transfer portal to supplement and replace some of that experience and talent. And again, Coach Drink recruiting the high school ranks at a high level. You have some guys that are coming up, but it's never bad to use the transfer portal to add to the experience and depth of this roster. And I think at the spots where you wanted to see them add some depth, the Missouri Tigers have certainly done that. Big fan of how Missouri is balancing. Yeah, we're not going to go completely retool our roster in the transfer portal, but we're going to go get guys that are going to add some depth and experience and talent to position groups that we feel needs it. And so really big fan of that. Coach Strength, Missouri Tigers, cooking in the talent acquisition part. I think you have to be really excited about where the Missouri Tigers are going. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys again. If y'all do enjoy the updates, enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.